Growth doesn't fail because of effort. It fails because of misalignment.
A lot of times I use the analogy, if you're looking down the rifle and even if your sight is just a millimeter off, you won't really know until you get, 250 yards downrange that you're feet apart.
Growth without alignment demands trade-offs. Time, energy, relationships.
I've been head down for so long, kind of fight or flight kind of thing. And, you look up and you get to a point where you are contemplating growing, you are contemplating expanding, and you're like, man, where's all my relationships?
And those costs don't show up immediately. Real alignment forces harder questions. Not how much can I do, but what actually belongs together.
But what I've come to realize just actually this year was that I was sacrificing a short term for the long term.
Because when your actions and your directions aren't aligned, progress becomes expensive. And real growth doesn't come from doing more things. It comes from committing to the right ones.
You can't do like lateral growth with multiple things at the same time. Yeah. Because every time you're saying yes to one, you're saying no to the other. Yeah. And so then it's a constant trade of time and resources, and you're kind of doing this like forward, backwards thing down the field. And so we're going all in on.
This is Matt Kmeyer.
Welcome back to the We Podcast. I'm excited to have Matt Kmeyer with us today. Welcome, Matt. Excited to have you. We've been doing this now, and I'm trying to get better every time. So it's been a journey. So, but anyway, so part of the concept is just to recognize the fact that nobody succeeds alone, right? And you've done really well in your career so far, and I just thought that. Besides the obvious, I think you offer a lot of value. It'd be just great to hear some of your story and maybe inspire people along the way and see where we go from there. So, so tell me a little bit, like, how did you find real estate? Like what made you wake up one day and choose a place that guarantees no income and say, hey, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to do really well at this.
I think like most real estate agents, it's happenstance. You kind of just trip into it or fall into it or stumble into it. And I had, all throughout high school, graduated high school, figuring out like, what the heck am I going to do? And I was the kind of guy that I'm going to give something 6 months until I like it or don't. So I went through print out a list of all the things that I like to do, sold cars, worked in the restaurant, tried to do, insurance, did landscaping. Man, I did pretty much anything you can imagine. And my aunt had vacation rentals at the Lake of the Ozarks. Okay. And I'm like 19, 20 years old. I'm like, look, I'll move to the Ozarks, have a great time. Sure. And I will manage all of your Airbnbs. Yeah. And, had no experience in that. And yes, there was a lot of partying, there was a lot of fun, but I was able to learn somewhat of the experience cycle from a, short-term rental, right? But on the flip side of that, I was also learning the fundamentals of lead generation, marketing, guest experience, bookkeeping, house cleaning, all these little things. And I'm like, man, I'm kind of like digging this. Yeah. And so I had told her, I was like, hey, I really like this. Do you want to buy more? And she's like, well, actually, we're selling the whole portfolio. Oh. And I was like,
kind of lost your job there.
Yeah, like here I am, like the best season that you've ever had, right? And I'm like, let's scale, let's go. Yeah. And she was like, no, taken out from under you. So, of course, I stayed down there, to reminisce on the pieces that I had left, and I got connected with Keller Williams actually in 2014. Okay, and there was a previous team leader that was starting a property management company and was like, hey, look, here's what I'm looking to do. And I'm like, well, I'm basically was doing that on the short-term rental side, and I don't think that there would be a significant learning curve. So let's go all in. Well, there was a significant learning curve. But I feel like I do best under pressure. And started that property management company. I think they had like 30 rentals, and then we brought it up to like 90 in 12 months. And
Wow.
yeah, I loved it. But this is where the turning point kind of happened, is as a property manager, you're representing the landlord and not necessarily the tenant.
Right.
So I felt like there was a hole in the equation, that I'm building all these relationships with these tenants and trying to serve them at the highest level, but I'm crippled based upon what the landlord allows me to do or what they're willing to do and the structure of the agreement. And so I'm like, I'm so close to putting all the pieces together. And then that was when, I joined a small residential team, started as a, contract to close.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So started as a contract to close. It was a small team. There was just 4 of us, including me. And then I kind of did the same thing I did at the restaurant business, where I, started as a busboy, worked my way up. Well, I did that, same plan on the real estate side, where started as a contract to close, learned it, built the role, stepped out, hired that position, listing manager, kind of worked in that role, stepped out, hired that, and then kind of got into the inside sales agent department.
Okay.
And then built a really good inside sales. And then I got to a point where I was like, oh man, like director of operations, like this is cool. And then I'm like, okay, well then I'm serving another person instead of, so it was really unique how I got to a point to getting my own team, is because I really went through all of the ups and downs and scratched every area possible before I got to where I'm at.
So you didn't start in sales right away. You started on the administrative side of things.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
So before we keep going with the real estate, let me go back. You mentioned you had experience in like restaurants, insurance. I think you mentioned like lawn mowing, whatever. And you said you gave it 6 months. So let's assume they only get 6 months stint or more. Like, what are some of the things that you've learned in the restaurant business that have served you later, or any of them?
Oh, this is my most passionate topic, because I think everybody should serve in the restaurant business at some point in their life. And I think, customer service is everywhere. And I feel like a lot of businesses across every industry is all about service, but like there's so much that goes into it. There's pre-service. What expectations are you setting? There's this during service, what are they truly experiencing? And then post-service, what kind of feeling are you leaving them with as they're walking away?
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's kind of 3 different categories to that. And I think on the restaurant side of things, you're working in a fast-paced environment. You have to think very quickly, right? And you have to manage essentially your area. And I think that there's, so many different categories of business. Yes, you're learning customer service. You're learning efficiency, because you got to go back and forth to your tables all the time. So how can you be most efficient? You're running financing in a way. In the restaurant business, they talk about PPE, which is a price per expenditure. Okay. Which is every customer that comes in has a dollar amount. Yeah. So the goal is how can you increase the individual dollar amount per customer?
Okay.
That's ultimately, and then you start getting into, okay, how fast are you turning your tables? Right. Okay, so if you're upselling and then you're getting them and you're not necessarily kicking them out, but you're
get a rotation going.
You get a rotation going. Yeah. You're learning finances, you're learning leverage, the busboys are working for you. It's hard to pick one thing from the restaurant business, but I think that business 101, like if I was a professor, I'd be like 3 college credits for 4 months in the restaurant business.
Right.
Because you learn so many fundamentals that you don't really get in, other specialties, but I think all of it, literally everything that I do in real estate and what I've learned and how I've got to it is I mean, even objection handlers.
Yeah.
You know, when somebody wants to get a happy hour $3.99 margarita and you work them and get them to a $9.99, or, I mean, I can't contribute or just say one thing, but overall, the restaurant business was a huge part in getting where I'm at.
Sure. That's awesome. All right. So then you work your way through the team that you started with, through the administrative side of things.
Yeah.
Did you do sales with them as well, or did you start selling on your own?
I started selling on my own.
Okay.
Yeah. So the team that I previously worked for, we had a structure to where I was still licensed, but I was referring to the team.
Yeah.
And I was still tracking and being mindful of like, okay, hey, I referred, 7 this year, and then I referred 11 this year. And then it got to a point where I referred like over 30 to the team, and I'm doing some math. I'm like,
maybe I should refer them to me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, but again, coming from the restaurant side of things, I mean, we were tracking everything.
Yeah.
And so I had those habits and curiosities, coming into the real estate space.
Yeah. So was there not an opportunity for you to sell on that team? I guess, or were you just kind of your personal decision? I'm going to go do it on my own.
Yeah, it was a hard, honestly, probably one of the hardest decisions that I've made in my career was, do I stay in this role?
Yeah.
Or do I stay with the team and do a different role, or do I do something myself?
Got you.
And I look back at all of the opportunities that I've had, is that I was never really compensated for what I brought to the table.
Okay.
You look at, the restaurant industry, I had one of the highest PPEs in the company. Okay, well, I'm still getting paid and running tables, right? Then you transition to, the landscaping side of things where, we had one of the shortest job to close ratios where they would bill a certain hour, and then we were always finishing under that, so the company profited more money. Mm-hmm. And then you get to the real estate aspect of things, and I'm still would be selling and somewhat in control of my income, but if I wanted to grow, there's still going to be a ceiling.
Yeah.
In which, does that vision align with what they wanted to do and where they wanted to go?
Yeah.
So I think it was just like, look, I just wanted to be in control.
Yeah.
Like, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? And what opportunities can I provide for the people that I care about?
Well, and I think that's a really, really interesting point, because a lot of times, I mean, I've seen it both ways, right? You have people that thrive on teams because of the alignment, and they have the ability to, I guess, achieve the control that you were looking for, and so on and so forth. And they're like, hey, I'm a lifer kind of thing. And so it's interesting how for anybody that embrace growth, you can't escape alignment. At some point, you always have to reevaluate, because if you and I both want to grow, it doesn't mean because we both prioritize growth that we're necessarily in alignment on how it's going to happen, right? So sometimes that it's really that simple, right?
That was ultimately what it was.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, a lot of times I use the analogy, if you're looking down the rifle, and even if your sight is just a millimeter off, you won't really know until you get, 250 yards downrange that you're feet apart.
Right.
So it's like, okay, yeah, we're synced up now, but in the future,
right.
And then at what point do our visions no longer align?
Yeah.
And then what could I have been doing on my own?
Right. So off we go. So how'd it go? Like, when you started, you're one of the few that I can think of, if anyone, that had the background or the foundation from an administrative side that you've experienced before. So I feel like it almost gives you like a kind of a head start when you go on your own.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, yes, but in a way, no, because I had no sales experience in that aspect of things.
Yeah.
But I also started like right at COVID. So like when I exited that team, it was like the tail end of 2019.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, what am I going to do?
Right.
And I think I just never let the foot off the gas was basically what it is. And I would say action oriented was my saving grace. I didn't know, I had done a lot of the things on the previous team.
Yeah.
But I also was paid to do that. And so now I'm in this interesting conflict where I'm servicing these clients, but then I also have to simultaneously like build my own stuff.
Yeah.
And that was a challenge.
Yeah.
But I loved the race.
Yeah.
I loved the race.
Yeah. So what does your world look like today, and where are we going? What's your...
Yeah. So, we've been about 5 years now. And I really didn't know like what I wanted to do with the team.
Okay.
And, it's been a journey that I've been on to say, okay, what do I want this to be huge, or do I want this to be small? I really didn't know.
Right.
And, I think the other thing is that, which I would say this was one of my biggest regrets along with my journey, is that I've been head down for so long, kind of fight or flight kind of thing. And, you look up and you get to a point where you are contemplating growing, you are contemplating expanding, and you're like, man, where's all my relationships? Like where are all the people that I could have been bringing along with me, And so that was a huge, I would say the biggest learning experience, like.
Do you feel, the way you're saying it, do you feel like you left them behind, or?
Not necessarily. I would say that my, what's the word I'm looking for? My opportunities are just limited. Let me rephrase that. I feel that my surroundings are smaller because during that 4 year of in that 4 years, house fire and COVID and hospital, I mean, there's so much crap that was involved in that.
Sure.
But, I said no to coffee. I said no to lunch. If it wasn't getting me.
Yeah.
But what I've come to realize just actually this year was that I was sacrificing a short term for the long term, right?
Yeah.
That coffee that I was saying no to because I was doing an appointment or I was lead genning or I was doing whatever, that coffee or that lunch or that dinner could have done something else over the last 5 years.
Right.
And so definitely taking inventory and revisiting what the next year looks like. And I think, yes, people from a client standpoint, but people, and I think that's been my biggest learning experience over the last 4 years.
So do you think you made those, was it like a time issue kind of thing? Or was it a timing issue kind of thing? Or was it just, hey, I got my head down, I got a goal, this is where I'm going?
I think that was like, I just have one speed, just go.
Yeah.
And I think that that is a good attribute for an agent to have.
Yeah.
But if not properly executed and used as a tool for the right place at the right time, it can be a huge crutch, because you kind of push away and you kind of create this like barrier around you unintentionally that like, oh, he's busy, don't bother him, which is 100% against my heart,
Sure.
like, I mean, people know my office is open, you come in, but yeah, that's it. I don't necessarily think it was a timing issue. Mm-hmm. If you just look back at the last like 4 years of my life, like I didn't have an option not to just go.
Yeah. And I think everyone goes through a period like that. And I think arguably if you keep pursuing growth, I'll say it's probably going to happen again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's just no, And that's not so much, well, in my experience, I don't think you're necessarily saying no to the people. You're just saying yes to you.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of times people struggle with saying yes to themselves, but then they get pissed off because, well, I wanted to get 75, 100, 150 deals, but I had to do this. And well, no, you just have to get comfortable with saying yes to you.
Right. Yeah. That's a great point. I mean, I would say I was very purposeful.
Yeah.
But I was purposeful for the right now.
Yeah.
And not purposeful for like where I wanted to go or where I saw myself going. And that was where I feel like I maybe shot myself a little short.
Yeah.
In that aspect.
Got you. So what's like 5 years from now? What does your world look like? I mean, you're in the thick of it right now. You got a 3-year-old, you got another one on the way. Like this is I'm on the back nine. So this I can see it. Right. So where are we going?
So I think that's been something this year that we've been like really contemplating on. You know, I'm very much involved in the investment side of things too.
Nice.
And slowly trying to pick at the development aspect of things.
Okay. But
in order for me to do all of that, I have to put focus in one first.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the decision that I made, is that in order for me to be able to go all in on the investment aspect of things, be able to go all in on the, development aspect of things, and go in on other, ancillary business opportunities and that, I have to go all in on the team first.
Yep.
Because you can't do like lateral growth with multiple things at the same time.
Yeah.
Because every time you're saying yes to one, you're saying no to the other.
Yeah.
And so then it's a constant trade of time and resources, and you're kind of doing this like forward backwards thing down the field. And so we're going all in on the team right now.
Nice.
Like next year, our goal is netting 2 more additional agents and then a full-time marketing coordinator. And I think that would give me the leverage to continue to slowly develop the investment aspect of things too.
I call that and I think you're right? A lot of times people get excited about going wide because it looks very sexy, until you realize how expensive it is.
Yes.
And it's not that sexy.
Yeah.
So I call that like kind of like the Tiger Woods economic model, right? He made about $125 to $150 million playing golf, but he made $800 million or $900 million off the golf course. So he can't get to the 800-900 off the golf course if he's not dominating the course. Right? And a lot of times, especially us as entrepreneurs, like we sit down with the whiteboard, like, I'm gonna have this company, I'm gonna have this company, I'm gonna have this company, and then you're like, okay, who's gonna do all that?
Well, and from yes, I have a small team, but from a personal side of things, like I could see my numbers. Like, okay, I'd have a really good month on the investment side, and then a really bad month. So it's like I'm constantly trading one or the other.
Yeah.
And that was basically my wake up call, is like, in order for me to do them all, I have to do one first.
Well, because if we just go back to Wood's example, right? Dominating one allows you to fund or earn everything else.
Right.
That's been my experience anyway.
Yeah.
And if you kind of look at Costco's economic model, right? What are they dominating is the membership.
Yep.
That's what drives everything else. They don't need to make money off. I mean, they do, but they're not trying to get fancy food, wider margin. They just like, we need members.
Right.
Right. And you dominate that, and then everything else falls in place. Right. And I think the entrepreneurial disease that we all have to want to go wide and that's just a great, I'm gonna have I'm gonna have a media company, I'm gonna have this, and then you're like, well, shit, like I'm breaking even everywhere.
Yeah, well, and I think, like especially from, think of the, I guess we could use this analogy for the restaurant side too. I've always been about going deep, and not going wide. Because ultimately, the most expensive piece of business is getting a new customer, right? And so, like, if you can find a way to capitalize multiple times on the same customer, like ultimately that's going to net you more money with less resources, but you can't do them all simultaneously,
right.
you know? And so that was the wake up call. It's like, look, in order for me to go all in on these other things, like I have to somewhat be able to run this from outside of the organization.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're at now.
So who's your coach? Who's your mentor? Which door do you knock on when you like, hey, somebody needs to help me draw this up? Like where do we go?
Oh man, I hate to admit, but I've never had a coach.
Cool.
No, because it's a regret. It's a regret. Now, I did have a Tony Robbins coach when my son was born.
Okay. You can't say you never had one.
Okay. So I've never had a business coach.
Okay.
Yeah, Tony Robbins, my son was born 2.5 months early.
Yeah.
We went through a hell of a ride with that.
Yeah.
And man, I got to give it up to Andre for getting me through that.
Yeah.
But from the business side of things, like never had a business coach. I've just kind of been like the figure it out.
Yeah.
Which I feel has hurt me in many ways. And you look back and say, man, I've been doing this for 5 years. Like, where could I be if I just would have hired a coach early on in my career? But I think as my life becomes more complex and my hands and feet are in more things, I think that a coach is something that I'm definitely going to need in order for me to excel.
Yeah. What would you like to see in a coach? Like what kind of coach would you be looking for? Because it's kind of like I think hiring a coach, it's kind of like adding an agent to your team, right? There's got to be alignment. There's got to be understanding. There's got to be right? It's not a one size fits all by any means. So when you think about that, like who's the best avatar coach for Matt Kmeyer out there? What does that look like?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, like that muscle is new right now. So I don't really know.
Yeah.
I would say the two biggest things in my business are, accountability.
Yeah.
Right? Like, am I operating my calendar as efficiently as possible?
Yeah.
And two, leverage. I'm at the point where, I still have all these other entities that I'm not doing at a very high level, but there's still work at some point. And so how do I maneuver things around to ensure that I can just still operate in the team to grow that?
Yeah.
But accountability, I think is, I've been really the only one to hold myself accountable, and just as well as I do that it's pretty much impossible.
Yeah.
I would say over the course of my career, that's probably one of the biggest lies that I've told myself, is that, you make a commitment and then you fail to follow through, and then your trust with yourself just like continues to erode over time. So I would say, like, for everybody listening, get a coach.
Yeah.
Because that is something mentally that you struggle with is, hey, I said I was going to do this thing and I didn't do it, and there's no pain.
Yeah.
Like there's no repercussions, but in the long run there is. But yeah, accountability and really just ideas, and I don't know enough about it to really, I'm sure that criteria would grow and morph over time.
You mentioned there's no pain. Do you think are you driven by pain or pleasure? Like, are you playing not to lose, or are you playing to win?
I would say, actually, I don't really know. That's a really great question. I've never been presenting that before. Looking back over my life, I've always been on just like adrenaline, that everything could fall apart. Everything could just go. And so I don't know if I'm playing to win or I'm playing not to lose. I never thought of it that way, which is really interesting concept.
Yeah.
But it's just been a fight or flight,
Right.
you know? And I feel like when somebody operates in a fight or flight mentality for so long, you get really good at going, but you lose the sense of like, what am I trying to achieve?
Right.
Right. And what impact do I really want to make? Because you're just go.
Yeah.
You know? So definitely advise against doing that.
Right. Well, I think everyone who works as an entrepreneur or independent contractor has that to an extent, right? I mean, because none of us wake up with anything guaranteed, so you gotta kind of eat what you kill, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you get hungry. It's real simple. Why? It's not rocket.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think what happens is once you the problem is like it's not sustainable to operate in a fight or flight lifestyle, right? And I don't mean lifestyle like from a like housing, cars, or whatever. I'm just saying emotionally to live that way, it's not a sustainable way to live that way, right?
Yep.
And at some point you gotta create a different level of clarity to say, all right, like here's winning, here's losing, and here's the path for this, and how do I avoid this one and all this stuff, right? That's interesting that the fight or flight is tiring. I mean, would you agree? Like if you've done it for a while, I'm sure like at some point you realize it yourself, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, we could do a whole second podcast about the last 5 years and all of the just trauma, I guess or obstacles that life has thrown at me. But I think the hardest part about fight or flight is it's hard for you to recognize like opportunities. It's hard for you to recognize like, hey, this could be a something or this person could be a thing, because like you're only looking like you're linear.
Right.
You are just like so straight line that it's so like everything else around you is so blurred that you just miss a lot of stuff.
Well, I think so. Yeah. Well, and here's not you're asking, but this is my podcast. But most likely when people operate in a linear way, you lose awareness.
Does
that make sense?
Yep.
Because you're just, and it's really hard to, in my experience anyway, it's really hard to scale up or generate the growth that you would want to generate without having some sort of flexibility along the way, right? I mean, shit just coming down here is like a tsunami for you, right? On the highway. So if you say, hey, I'm not coming on that until it's sunny, well, then we're not doing it today. Like it's going to probably rain all day, right? So developing the ability to be flexible this is a caveat, like not to settle, but to understand that there are times where you're going to have to kind of navigate through things where you still can get to the end result, but it may not just be like riding a Hummer down the lane and just bulldozing everybody.
Right? Well, I think, you know, man, I thank the Lord for my kid, but this is the first opportunity that I've been able to like be still. And then all of a sudden, all this stuff starts to be like really clear, and you're like, "What the hell have I been doing?"
Yeah,
you know. And like you look back at the whole trajectory, like I've really been stuck at 15-20 million for 5 years. Like, why did it take me so long to get to a point where I'm like, I should probably do something different?
Well, it's interesting when I hear this, right? Because I mean, there's probably 80% of the agent population that would love to be stuck at 80 to 20 million in business. You know what I mean? So I think there's, this is why I'm saying how important clarity is, right? Because part of me would say like, you're not necessarily stuck there by choice. It's just, you're not clear on the next step, which this is why you keep doing the same thing over and over, because you're like, well, I'm not sure if I want 30 million, or I'm not sure if I want 25 million. And I think until you make that commitment, it's really hard to build the steps that are needed to get there. Is that fair? Or? Yeah. So,
well, yeah, I think, when you operate in fight or flight, you're just, hey, I'm surviving, and yes, I'm thriving, right? But you don't have the thrust to determine the direction.
Yeah.
You're just going.
Yeah.
And I think that, operating that way, yes, I have a wonderful career and a wonderful life, but when you think about real estate as an opportunity to just serve and impact so many people, like how many times have I missed an opportunity, because we weren't where we needed to be at that time, or we didn't have the agents where we needed to be at that time. So this year was a huge wake-up call that, I've been blessed with a great business, and I have the opportunity to take it to the next level if I'm clear on the direction and I have the right people in my corner. And that also includes a coach.
Yeah. You said.
I'll just drop that right. I dropped that right at it.
Right. All right. So what's your biggest hurdle right now?
Oh, man.
The thing that business-wise, it keeps you up at night. You're like, I got to figure this out.
Yeah. I think recognizing... Let me be careful how I choose my words on this. The hardest thing for me ultimately is we want to scale, right? Like our immediate need is we need an agent.
Okay.
And my being vulnerable is it's hard for me as a team leader and a rainmaker to understand that everyone else on my team is not a rainmaker and a team leader. And so it's trying to recognize that, this person has a lot of potential and they're a very talented individual to do what they want to do, not to try to sell 100 units,
Mm-hmm.
And, if they want to, great. But I think that is my one is a personal challenge of recognizing that not everybody is just designed to do that or be that way.
Is that the player you want? Is that why you're struggling with the fact that not everyone is wired that way?
I don't necessarily think it's the exact player that I want, because I think with the right guidance that they could do their own thing, but I want the person that sees the opportunity and is like, oh, cool. This is what I need to do. Let's go.
Yeah.
I want the person to see the opportunity, not just a vehicle that they get in and ride.
Okay.
I don't know if that analogy makes sense.
But so how are you presenting the opportunity? How are you showing it to them?
Well, I haven't had many opportunities to do that.
Okay.
Right now, I would say I'm scouring the playing field, and picking out what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what I'm, okay, this person's doing that. They just got a really good heart, or man, they always show up excited, they're always happy. I'm looking for all of those things, but because I'm head down, I don't get out much. So my opportunities are very small, which is self-inflicted for sure.
Right.
I take full responsibility for all of that.
Well, yeah, that's the beauty of being the rainmaker.
Yes. But yeah, I think that, it's understanding that you can have key players in the organization that are still extremely valuable and extremely talented, but at the role in which they do well at, not just an all around
well, I think that's key. That's how you develop a team.
Yeah.
Right. I use this example oftentimes when I teach the career visioning process that we have. And Chase Daniels, that played football at Mizzou, right? I can't remember the exact numbers, but I think I had probably a 10 to 12 year career in the NFL with maybe 20 games. And 20 games, he won one Super Bowl as a backup in New Orleans, and probably made between 40 to 50 million. but you talk about roles, right? You got, I'm guessing, I don't know the guy, but I'm just guessing if you look at his stats, he got to a point where he said, I'm going to accept and commit to be number 2 wherever I can be, and I'll be the best number 2. And that's a highly emotional, intelligent person to be willing to recognize, hey, I can do really well here if I don't let my ego get in the way, that I need to be number 1. I need the lights. I need, right? And it kind of goes to the we concept, right? Like you need a guy like that to support the guy who's starting, right? If nothing else, from a mental aspect of things, knowing that, hey, this guy wants me to win. This guy wants us to win, right? And those guys are hard to find, but that guy will never think the way you do.
Right.
But yet can be a key player in moving things forward on your behalf also, right?
Yep.
So that's where it gets tricky to attract, retain, and develop this.
That's exactly where I'm at.
Yeah.
Is identifying, okay, who is going to be a good fit for the team, but also how can I ensure that I'm giving them an opportunity so that they can be their best self.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely taking inventory.
All right.
Of that.
So we're going to wrap up this way. So we're going to have a Matt and David volume 2.
Okay.
In about 3 months or so. And I'm going to offer you this. Like, how do I help you move forward with this here? Whether it's a coach, whether it's a player, like what can I do to help you?
Oh man. I mean,
and we'll have to stay accountable because maybe there's 5 or 10 people that listen to this. We got to come back and say, hey, we did it.
Yeah, I think, opportunities to dialogue like this are just huge because I don't get a lot of it.
Okay.
And I think, from just being around the people that we've been around at in our team, so to speak, it's just doing more of that.
Yeah.
And I would say in 3 months, I'll commit to having a coach.
Okay.
And that's public.
You heard it here.
Bleep that out, please. Bleep that out, please.
That's right. All right. So we'll do it. We'll have a coach. And then if you want help with the whole hiring or finding or whatever, I'll help you out and we'll go.
Awesome. Appreciate it, man.
I love you.
Thanks for having me here.
You're the best.
Awesome.
You got it.
That was great.
That's fun.